Hey guys, and welcome back to Castle Crush, and today we are going to be doing a Storm Elemental versus Mud Elemental battle, and as you can already see, it was very difficult to actually keep these Storm Elementals on their proper side. I had trouble with this in some other challenges as well. For whatever reason, these Storm Elementals like to get metamorphed, and basically, yeah, I was able to get a good number of Mud Elementals though, so it's still pretty epic. But if you're wondering why there's some Storm Elementals in there too, it's because I was using Metamorph. And as you can see, the Mud Elementals were actually doing a lot of damage to the Storm Elementals. I did manage to get some good giant growths on the Mud Elemental. You can see really doing damage to the Storm Elemental. Now it's holding, but at first it was doing quite a lot of damage to it, and really that stack had pushed back the big Storm Elemental pretty far. So it's just a question of how will it hold up as the match progresses. I was still kind of thinking the Storm Elemental would probably win just because of its continuing growing over time. But honestly, out of all the cards I've tested thus far, this was the one that challenged the Storm Elemental, I felt like, the most. And I think it's partly because I got some good giant growths on it near the start. But yeah, well, as things went on, you can see that the Storm Elemental was being challenged less and less. So that was definitely an issue. But we still had a pretty good battle going. And now, of course, I just ended up with a hodgepodge of, like, both cards on both sides. So maybe I should do this. Maybe I should honestly do these battles without Metamorph, but I felt like Metamorph makes it a little more epic. And it also helps out with the chances of maybe getting, like, an extra Necromancer or something, which can be useful. So I don't know, you guys can let me know in the comments if you think Metamorph is like messing it up or if Metamorph is good to have. It does produce some epic fights, but yeah, it's kind of hard to get like just Mud Elementals versus just Storm Elementals. So we are going to go to overtime with this, and now you can see the big Storm Elemental has pushed back the original Mud Elemental stack all the way to the other side, practically. So that's quite a change. What a battle, though. This is quite an intense fight here. Giant Storm Elemental, and we still have a bunch of giant cards on the other side, too. Still got some huge Mud Elementals. I feel like the Mud Elemental doesn't get as big as it used to, like back in the day. But this Storm Elemental I have there on the left side is absolutely massive. That is pretty huge for today's standards. So I did push them back with a gust of wind, but that was basically just so I could like we could get a better view, because I could tell that neither side was going to actually win because of all the angels and the fact that they don't have any AoE damage. So let's try this again, see if we can get a better situation here. So this time we have the Mud Elemental with a clear advantage right off the start. And I'm going to try and counter it by putting Giant Growth on the Storm Elemental, seeing if it can catch up. It's still dying pretty quick to that Mud Elemental. So we'll see if this can turn around. So early on, the Mud Elemental side is winning, but we already have a Storm Elemental that got caught on that side. So yeah, that's where that came from. But the Storm Elemental is already, I think, getting stronger. As you can see, it's taking less damage, potentially because of the angels. But it could also just be because of the fact that it's growing even without the giant growth. That really gives the Storm Elemental like a huge advantage in these sort of versus matchups, because over time, over the course of the match, it can grow to a point where it's much stronger than even the strongest cards in the game, with giant growth seems to be what it is. So I'm still trying though. I was putting more giant growths on the mud elemental, and it was still doing a lot of damage to that storm elemental. This is a huge mud elemental for this point in the game. The original mud elemental stack is continuing to win here. I did end up using Gust of Wind simply because I thought it would sort of make a more interesting matchup here, and I could sort of tell again with this particular setup that neither side was necessarily going to win because they can't seem to get rid of the angels. So I figured we'd just have a more even showdown where people could actually see what was going on in the middle. But clearly early on, the original mud elemental stack was winning. However, now you can see that the storm elemental is finally getting to the point where it can just tank the mud elemental, and it's kind of, yeah, it's, well, neither one is really, they're kind of evenly matched at this point. Now, I think the storm elemental with that giant growth has surpassed the giant mud elemental, and it's on its path to victory here. I don't think the right side is really going to come back from this. I think that storm elemental on the left side has gotten way too strong, and now they are going to suffer the consequences. So I'm going to say early on the mud elemental won, and now the storm elemental again over time has reached a point where it is just simply put stronger. So that is going to do it for this video. Let me know what you guys thought about this, who won in the comments, and maybe subscribe if you're new to the channel. Thanks for watching, guys, and stay tuned for more videos.